With that being said, welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I almost forgot the name of my show. My name is Chris Bello. I'm the host, and today I've got my friend Brett Gonzenbach. No, Gonzenbach.
There it is. There it is.
Gonzenbach. That really helps. Welcome, Brett. It's awesome to have you on the show, and I can't wait to share your story with my audience because you've gone through quite an amazing journey. So welcome.
I was just, when you were giving that little introduction right there, I was thinking about how we first got together, how we first started communicating, how we first got connected with one another back in the day, man. Like, what was that, like 3.5 maybe years ago or something, where we were both going through the same exact thing, where we were working for these big Fortune 500 companies. We were just climbing up.
Climbing the ladder.
Yeah. And we were doing, I remember you telling me, like, bro, like, I'm doing well. Like, I don't necessarily hate my job. Like, I don't hate the situation that I'm in, but there's gotta be something more out there. There's gotta be something more. We started talking, and I was doing the same exact thing because I did not necessarily hate the job that I was in, because I had a great job. I had the dream job that I had been working for my whole life. And it was really funny the way that we started getting in contact, because it was just, we were just going through the same exact thing of, like, knowing that there's got to be something more, but no idea what that something more was, because we've just been boxed into that corporate mindset for so long.
Yeah, and it's been really awesome to watch your story. And I know we've kept in touch, sending some voice messages over time and just commenting and liking each other's posts. But so much has changed since then. And what I tell people on my podcast is, like, I kind of just did all these things that I was told to do. I went to school, I got a good job, I did some extracurricular stuff in college and high school. And I never really stopped to think, like, what do I want to do, until a few years into that corporate role, where, like you said, there's got to be something more. There was, like, that itch that I was trying to scratch. Like, why am I even coming to work every day? I wasn't excited to wake up and go into some meeting that would be 2 hours long, where we review line items of parts that we ordered in the oil and gas company and, like, why something's late. It was so painful. I actually just saw Facebook memory. It's kind of funny, from 5 years ago when I was still at that job. And it was me. I can go back to it. I'm just going to look at it real quick. Actually, if anyone's, I'll just share it on my screen. That's the beauty of Zoom. Yeah. So if anyone's watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see. I'm going to share it.
I realize that the mic that I have, I think it's probably recording your voice as well, because don't you need, like, headsets or something like that?
Oh, maybe. It should be fine.
We might just have to do the...
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything weird with the audio, we can address it. This is the funny post that I saw from 5 years ago, where I sent a Snapchat to my roommate and coworker at the time, jokingly saying I wasn't going to work as many hours as she does when I moved to my next assignment. And she sent this snap back where it's like, that ain't happening. So, like, she was saying, like, you're going to work way more than you want to. And I didn't want to, because the boss that she was working for at the time was known for, like, asking you for something on Friday afternoon, and then Monday morning, did you do it? And, in a corporate world, you're like, hey, I don't work on the weekends or whatever. I'm not paid for that, really. And so I had that employee mindset. But the funny thing is, the joke's on them, because I never did work that long like they did. I refused, because I had my boundaries. I was like, no, I'm leaving at 5 o'clock. I've got plans. I got to go work out. I've got a life. And now you and I are here having this conversation, and you're living over in Medellin right now, right?
Yeah.
Dude, joke's on them, because we followed our dreams, bro.
I mean, and that's the thing. We followed our dreams, and it's a day-to-day thing, man. It's a day-to-day thing. We just keep going. Sometimes it's not as easy as other days, but you just keep on going, keep on following those dreams, keep on following what you know to be true for yourself, man.
Exactly. And if I remember correctly, I think I remember hearing you on another podcast as well. I forget whose podcast it was, but even when we initially...
it might have been last week with Mike Busby.
I haven't listened to Mike's yet, but I heard you on another one a while back, probably. whose was it? Was it Skylar's? Maybe it was Skylar's, if you were on Skylar's podcast. But you were talking about how you had a friend who was young and like in the industry. I guess he had a heart attack or something, right, at a young age. Am I remembering correctly?
Yeah, that was. Oh man, like that was
like the turning point.
Yeah, that was my moment. That was the moment where everything changed in my life. Nothing was ever going to be the same after that, because you know the drill, man. You go to school, you get the good grades, so you get into good college, you get to good college, you get the good grades, so you get the good job. You're working for that company for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years without even thinking about it. Completely just, that's what you do.
Autopilot.
That's just what you do. And so I was totally in that. I was absolutely in it, and I was crushed. Like I was head down, like, get out of my fucking way. Like, I'm just going to dominate what's in front of me with this whole corporate thing.
Hell yeah.
And I was just so deep into that mindset and so deep into just the hustle and the grind of all of that, because I just thought that's what you do. And so that was my turning point. Ultimately, what happened is I had this coworker named Chris, and Chris was just a phenomenal dude. And he was the guy right above me. We were just going at it every single day, like 10, 12 hours a day, just crushing it and dominating. And it's like, it's what you do. It's what you do. You put in the work so that you can make a name for yourself and just keep rising up the ladder. So we were just working, hustling, crushing. And Chris is an amazing guy. He's one of those guys that gets a little flustered every time he makes a mistake. He's like a little hard on himself. And I mean, aren't we all, of course? And I'm in Vegas because that's where I was working. I was working for the big casino companies out there, and it's Saturday night, and I'm out with my boys. It's like midnight, and I'm just doing the Vegas thing, man. Like, I'm doing the Vegas thing, and I'm just like, I'm going all in. Yeah, it's Vegas. Like, it's about work hard, play even harder. It's just the ultimate, like, grind, hustle, and then blow it all off at night at the nightclubs. And so I'm out with my boys Saturday night, midnight. I look down at my phone, and it's my boss calling me. It's my director calling me. I'm like, oh my God, like,
why is he calling me right now?
Yeah, the first reaction I had of it is like, what report did I screw up? This is serious. What did I do wrong? Why am I getting this call right now? Like, oh man. And I don't want to pick it up, and it keeps ringing, and I'm already like 5 like vodka sodas deep at this point. And I'm like, man, I don't want to pick this up, but something in me tells me to pick it up. I answer the phone, and my boss just goes straight into it and just says, Brett, Chris passed away. He's dead. And I didn't have as I'm like trying to say it right now, I'm trying to say it right now, I was just like completely at a loss for words. Like, wait, like
I just saw him. Yeah.
What do you mean that he's dead? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, where am I missing the punchline here? It was like this. It was like this moment where time just stopped. Time just absolutely froze, and I'm just on the phone, just confused. And so we get into the office on Monday morning, and Chris's desk is right next to mine, and he's just not there, because he's always there before me. He's just not there. I'm like, oh my God, like, I think this is real. And so everyone else comes in the office, and go into my director's office, and it's chat, like, hey, like, how you doing? Like, you guys okay? Like, because everyone's like just shooken up from it. So after a while, we start talking about how we're gonna, move forward, how we're gonna just, because none of us know like what to do in this situation. Like no one has a clue what to do in these situations. So we're all just figuring it out together. And essentially, I'm the new guy, and so I'm like, I see it as the opportunity to, I'm still in that like go, go, go mode of like, all right, this is my
Step up.
time. Yeah, this is my time to step up. And so that's what we do. We all split up the work. I take a lot of the work, and it's fine for a little while. And I'm in that like go, go, go mode. Like, all right, now's my chance to prove myself. Now's my chance to really step up and show everyone how amazing I am. And after a couple weeks of that, Chris, like I start getting these heart palpitations of my own because I'm just stressed out of my fucking mind. Like I've got all this workload. I was doing like a lot of like analytical type of stuff, and me, you know me for long enough now. I'm not like, I was doing it because like
I'm not a numbers guy. I don't want to deal with that. Yeah.
it's what you do when you're in those groups, but like that's not in my heart. That's not my DNA. And so instead of Chris teaching me everything, I've got this like 1,000-page book on SQL, and I'm just like, oh my God. And so I'm just not really handling it well. I'm not handling the stress well at all. And so I start like actually feeling it. I start actually feeling these heart palpitations. It gets to the point where it's like 3 a.m. one night, and I'm laying up in bed, and my eyes are just wide open, and my heart is just pounding out of my chest. And it gets to the point where I'm like, all right, this is serious. This is serious. Now it's time to go to the hospital and just take care of this, because there was something in me though of, I don't want to do that, because they're just going to give me pills, they're going to give me drugs, and that's never been part of who I am, is to go down that road. And so I've been hearing all these things about this weird thing called meditation, and I thought it was just like this bullshit thing that is like, oh, this
right, like that doesn't work.
It's just for hippies,
right?
Why in the hell do I need this? But Chris, like I was broken. I was just broken at that point. I was just desperate. And I was scared. I was really, I've never been that scared for my life before. And so I tried this meditation thing, and a couple weeks into it, heart rate starts going back down to normal. I start calming back down. Like, wow, there's something in here. So I keep doing it. I keep meditating. And a couple weeks more, my mind just starts to open up a little bit. I start getting this tidal wave of these questions that just start popping up out of nowhere. These deep questions of, what am I actually doing here? Why am I actually in this job? Why am I actually working for a big company? Is this something that I want to do? Or is this something that everyone my entire life has told me that I need to be doing with my life? What am I actually passionate about? What am I interested in? What do I actually want to do with the one life that I've got right now? And all these questions start popping up out of nowhere. And it's just like right here in your face, and you're trying to look away. It's like, oh, those are uncomfortable questions right there. I don't want to look at those, but it's just right there in my face. And so that's how it all started, man. That's how it all started. So shortly thereafterwards, we started getting in contact with that one.
That's around when we got in contact. Yeah.
One entrepreneur group, when we were both figuring it out. That's exactly where I was at that point, just figuring it out.
That's cool, man. I'm curious, like, I know we've talked quite a few times. We've also done like voice messages, but you know how Facebook does a good job of storing your history? Like, I wonder what our first messages were. I'm going to see if I can scroll up. Dude, this is actually, and I'm giving away all my secrets here, but since I'm in real estate now, I've actually been doing a lot of reaching out, engaging with people on social media, touching base. And part of that was messaging people on Facebook who I hadn't talked to in forever. And the crazy thing is, I just found our messages. But the crazy thing is, some people that I've messaged that I hadn't talked to in years, like say in 10 years, I could see the last message was something like, in college, like, hey man, you want to come play Super Smash Bros or something, like at my dorm? Like that might have been the last Facebook message that we sent. And now I was hitting them up 10 years later, like, hey, how have you been? Wow, you have you're married and you have 2 kids and you live in Houston. Like, how's life, So that's when I kind of discovered this hack of like time traveling to a different, I even saw messages that I sent and I was like, damn, I sent that? Like, this is so stupid. Trying to talk to a girl or something and trying to be all like, hey, what's up? It was just funny to read. But yeah, dude, I just found our message. So your first message to me, dude, and it's nothing crazy. We're probably over optimistic at this point, because I've been humbled a few times since then, where I thought I was going to take over the world and have no challenges. But I guess we connected through Secret Academy or one of those Facebook groups. Yep. And then your message was, love how you made the leap from the corporate grind. Definitely scary, but I know you'll figure it out. Good luck, bro. And I was like, thanks, brother. I had to make the leap. I literally was so bored at my job, I didn't want to go in another day. Good luck on your end as well, and let's keep in touch. And this was in April 2017, bro. We're still going after it every day, dude. That's awesome.
Let's go.
Dude, I'm pumped reading that, because I'm like, wow, we're still at it, dude.
Let's go.
Like, look at our lives right now. I'm not near where I want to be, but like, we're on the right path. And we're constantly asking those questions to ourselves that, through meditation and stuff, that start to pop up that we kind of ignored before. Because I even have a therapist now. We have our 3rd session tomorrow, just so I can start to have someone ask me these questions that maybe I didn't know that I need to ask myself. And I've mentioned this on a couple of podcasts recently. It's cool because like she's asking all these questions that I never stopped to think about. And like how you said, you were just in that go, go, go mode, going full speed at what you thought was the right path. And when you start to meditate and then have like therapy sessions or whatever, you start to ask these questions and you're like, why did I ever stop to think about this? Is this really what I want, So that's exciting, man. And so
you can't hear those messages coming in when the mind is just going. We
keep ourselves busy and distracted, right? We don't want to just stop. And when you're sitting there for 20 minutes in silence, and you could talk about your Vipassana retreat too. That's a whole nother level of meditation. But when you're sitting there in silence, like you start to get these questions come up. And of course you're supposed to silence them if you can and just focus on your breathing and like let your thoughts be. Don't try to think about all the things you have to do. Just let it be and just be still and silent. That's the hardest part for me, because I'm thinking like while I'm meditating, like, did I send that email? I'm like, no. Stop worrying about the emails. Focus on this meditation.
It was wild, man, because I remember like I was just trying to figure out this meditation. Like I didn't really know what I was doing. Like I'm looking at some YouTube videos and whatnot. And it was the wildest thing, man. Like I would sit down to meditate. I think I started like 10 or 15 minutes or something like that a day. And it got to a point where I had to put my journal down next to me when I was meditating.
That ideas come to you?
Because like, you're supposed to like be calm and be still and like not pay attention to the thoughts or anything. But it was just overwhelming. It was overwhelming, like the flood of information that I was getting, that I was just like, oh my God, I need to just write this down. And then I'd be looking at my journal afterwards like, oh man, I think I need to make changes.
So what happened on your timeline? We kind of have exchanged some messages and whatnot, and I could scroll through and kind of get the summary. But after this happened and you started to ask yourself these questions, how soon after that was it that you decided to go on this Vipassana retreat? Like, what's the next part of your story that you want to share?
Oh,
I know there's a lot that happened, so we got to, condense it into a 1-hour session.
So long story short, I did what you did. and
quit the job cold turkey. No backup plan, no source of income.
and like I've been learning about this whole online marketing thing and online business and sales funnels and Facebook ads, ClickFunnels, like all this sort of stuff. I've been learning about it. I was like, man, I think this is something I really want to dive into, because for me, when all those questions started coming up of what do I want to do, I was like, I don't have a fucking clue. Like, I don't know what I want to do, but shit, like, what are the things that I want to do? Travel. I guess I like traveling.
Yeah.
So like, cool. All right, let's go put some energy into that. Like, I don't know how the hell to do that, like travel and work and make a living and see the world. But that's what I want to do. So let's
Figure
go
it
in
out.
that direction. I don't know what that entails, but that's how I got into that group that we were a part of. And then from there, I started getting connected with people. Andrew in that group, who still is like one of the closest people that I have in my life at this point. He's a mentor of mine, and he's also just, I saw him and he was just doing it.
He was living it already, right? He was like figuring that cheat code out. We were at this noob level. He was on like level 10, right?
Exactly.
Like, how did he get there? What was the cheat code that he used?
I'm seeing he's traveled the world. He's building businesses.
He's got a six-pack. Like, dude, he's managing it all.
And he eats pizza every single night.
What?
Right?
Dude, he's living the dream, bro.
And that's six pack.
And he eats pizza.
Yeah.
You know that side of him that he doesn't show on Instagram, right?
And so I start getting connected with him. I'm like, bro, like just how are you doing? Because this is exactly what I want right now. And so he starts showing me the ropes. There was this one ClickFunnels conference that he was going to. I was like, hey man, I don't have a ticket or anything. Like, I'm not going to the conference, but it's in Dallas. And I know this sounds weird. Trust me, I know this sounds weird. But if I just fly out to Dallas, can I just like buy you lunch or something? And he was like, sure.
Wow. I didn't know that. So that's how you guys met? You were in the group, but you hadn't met in person yet.
That's exactly how it happened.
Dude, that is incredible. So
I fly out from Vegas to Dallas, and he's going through this conference and going through all the funnel hacking live and whatnot. And I'm just sitting there, just like
rolling your thumbs.
Yeah. Because I don't have a ticket or anything, but we end up getting lunch, and that lunch turns into we spend like the next like day and a half just like masterminding. And just like, well, you flew out here, so let's make it worth your while.
That's awesome.
And then from there, I just started learning and started getting traction, started taking action, started making a little bit of money here and there. And
you were doing affiliate marketing at that time?
Yeah, exactly. And then from there, I was just like, man, like, I think I can actually do this. And so I don't know about you, when you ultimately made the decision and you turned in that 2 weeks notice, but when I did, like, I was just like, my hand was...
You're nervous? Yeah.
Because it wasn't like there was some fear in there for sure, but it was more of an excited fear, like this is important type of decision right here, because it's like everything that you thought you knew about your life and your direction and what everyone told you that you should be going for. You knew right then and there when you handed in that 2 weeks notice.
You're changing it all.
This is it.
No going back. Well,
going back.
I know Gary Vee, he always says in his talk, like, you can always like, do whatever you can in your 20s. Like, you can always go back and get a job. But to some extent, it's like, people are going to be like, why is there this gap on your resume? Like when we made that decision, like, we didn't want to go back. That was the whole point of it, right? I wanted to cut the umbilical cord and burn the ships, right? Burn the boats, like Tony Robbins says.
I was just about to say, Tony Robbins says it best.
Burn those boats, dude, to the ground. I burned them, all right. I mean, you didn't have a backup source of income either when you put in your 2 weeks, right? Or had you started affiliate marketing at that time?
Yeah, I was doing it. And then what happened was he was actually creating a program to help people with online marketing and all this sort of stuff. And so what happened was he was living in Hawaii at the time. And I was like, you know what? Let's just
go to Hawaii.
Let's keep going, man. Let's go all in. And so I get out there, and well, what actually happened was the day that was my last day at my job, I go back home. I get off work at like 7 p.m. I go back home and I packed up my bags And Mike Busby, who you know, he's my roommate at the time, and he gives me a ride to the airport. I have this red-eye flight from Vegas to Honolulu at 11 o'clock that night.
Love it.
I'm sitting middle seat between these two giant Samoan characters. They're like 300, 400 pounds, and I'm just in the middle seat between, and I'm hyped up off all this adrenaline and everything. And
all these major life changes that you're doing.
Yeah. And I land in Honolulu. And at this point, I'm doing sales calls. Helping him out with his program, helping him out there. And I look at my phone and I look at my calendar. I realize that I've miscalculated the time zones. And so it's like 6 a.m. in Honolulu. And I've got a call in like 5 minutes right after I land.
Oh, snap.
Oh, man. And so like each of these phone calls is like so important to me because like, you know, I'm doing it and I'm making sales and like I'm doing this thing, but like I'm like, oh shit, like
gotta get in the right
like what am I gonna do? So I'm running around the airport in Honolulu at 6 a.m. Like I'm looking at the Starbucks, like it's closed, like the PAs from the airports are loud as shit. And so I'm like, oh no, like where am I gonna take this call? So I'm like sprinting through the airport at this point, and I'm outside the airport, I'm by the taxi stand. And I'm looking around like, come on, like there's got to be some little spot. There's like 2 minutes left before my call. And so I find this little nook, this grassy area. It's a little bit quiet there. The time rolls around. I pick up the phone. I make the call. And boom, that was my biggest sale at that time. I had never experienced like that sort of success, that sort of money before. And it was just like effortless. It was an hour-long call, and it just went perfectly. Boom, closed the sale, and I hung up the phone. That the dude on the other line was ecstatic, and I take a taxi or hop on a bus, and I go into town, and I'm just like, wow.
That's a great way to start the trip.
This is a sign. This is a sign right here. And from there, yeah, I help out Andrew with his program. I'm still doing the marketing and doing the selling for it, and just been going since then.
That's awesome, man. And how many people would have just been like, oh, I'm not prepared. I forgot about this. I miscalculated it, and then tried to reschedule that call, and then you wouldn't have gotten that second chance. You wouldn't have started off with that win. And I'm just thinking, because like I just interviewed an assistant off of Upwork. I'm looking for some personal assistance where I can just like speak into the phone and have some task taken care of. And there was another person who was supposed to meet with me. She scheduled a link or call using Calendly. And then the time came and I logged in and like I messaged her and nobody showed. And like an hour later, she replied back like, hey, sorry, I was out. I had to drop my son off to his grandma's house. I'm like, well, like a text or something would have been helpful. Like if you want to be a personal assistant, we're off to a bad start, And so I like to give people second chances, but I was like, that kind of goes against what I'm looking for in this role. So, sorry, but I already kind of found someone else who showed up on time for that first meeting. And so I just wanted to commend you for like realizing the urgency of taking that call from the little bush nook, wherever you found that quiet area that you just were at for a full hour. Like, great job. Taxis, everything going around.
It was a ridiculous, 24 hours of how the whole journey started. It hasn't been all rainbows and butterflies and all that good light and bright stuff. It's not always going to be that. There's so many roller coasters, so many ups and downs along this journey. And I know for me, there was a lot of shiny object syndrome and trying just a million different things because I was cocky. I started this whole entrepreneur thing, and then just all of this success was just running at me. I'm like, I got this. This stuff is easy. And so, of course, I had to be humbled. I had to be really humbled a few times. And that's all part of the learning, man. That's all part of the learning. That's all part of the growing. And that's really what built me into all the things that I've done, all the person that I am. Yeah, the successes are nice and fun, and they're good for sure. But it's really those tough learning moments where you're just doing the deep soul searching of like, man, am I really doing this? Am I really capable of doing this? Like, nothing's working out for me right now. Like, oh man, I don't know. It's those moments where I know, you know what I mean, and just you dig deep and you find out, no, we got this.
You got this. Yeah. Pound your chest and get the blood pumping. And so what was the timeline when you took that first call and you went to Hawaii? What year was that? What was the date estimate?
June.
That was like June of 2017, was it? Or the next year, 18?
Years ago. Exactly.
Cool. So from there, now you're living, you guys are all living, Andrew's there too, right? In Medellin, Colombia.
Yeah, he's at a separate apartment right now, but yeah, we're all living here. It's lockdown like crazy. I'm actually not sure what it's like back in America right now, but they just took a whole nother extreme measures of lockdown where it's like
no leaving.
You're back in your house. Yeah, you're back in your house completely.
Yeah.
Right now, which is fine because it allows me to do more of this sort of stuff with you.
Yeah, for sure. We just got a little code red text today or red alert or something about, spikes in cases out here, and just like do your part. And if you can stay home, stay home. We're not being like forced to stay home, but like, there are still some stragglers walking around not wearing the mask. Like, is this real? But this time around, I actually know more people who've gotten sick. So I'm kind of like, okay. And even this morning I was running and it's been 100 degrees out here all week. And I was like, am I having shortness of breath or is it just hot as hell out here? Like, I don't know. I legitimately don't know. And so it's been interesting to say the least, but you guys have some amazing sunsets and stuff I see on the story, right? You just like gratitude. Andrew starts his day off, I think, with like the sunrise or the sunset. And it's really cool to see that because it's just like so different than what I'm used to seeing, It's hard to not be grateful when you see the sun and mountains off, in the horizon. So you guys have that gratitude and you do some hiking, and it seems like you do a lot of outdoor stuff and get into nature. And you've done Vipassana retreats. I interviewed another guy who's done that as well. So
really,
was yours 10 days long?
10 days.
Actually, I think it was on, do you know Julian?
Yep.
Yeah, it was on his show, Julian's show, because he did a Vipassana retreat as well.
Yeah.
So I remember talking to him about that. Small world.
It's wild. We got connected. He's got a podcast and we chat a little bit on there. But that was probably a year and a half after the Hawaii stuff, because when I first started meditating, when I was at MGM, when I was in Vegas, when I first started meditating, it was always kind of like this dream, really, of mine to go over and do an extended meditation retreat somewhere in Asia. Like, I was like, wow, this whole meditation thing, like, I'm really gaining so much from this. Like, this is changing my life completely. And this is it's changed my life completely. I really would love the opportunity, just whenever the time is right, whenever the time and the ability to do so. Like, I would love to do that. And so the time came around where it lined up and I felt right. I really felt a strong calling to just go deep, and I had no idea what to expect or anything. But that one experience changed my life forever, because you go deep, man. Like, because in the beginning, I was like, oh man, like 10 days. That's
hard to fathom, man. That's like, I get tired on a vacation where I'm eating and sleeping and, let alone sitting there cross-legged like all day for 10 days.
So I was looking at like 10 days, like, long time right there. No reading, no writing, no talking, no communication of any kind, no eye contact with other people. You're meditating like 12 hours a day, like eating vegetarian meals. For me, I'm like, wait, we have to eat vegetarian meals? Like, what? Like, I'm this like huge meatitarian. I'm just like, wait, oh man, like no one told me this part.
Hungry the first couple of days, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. And so looking back though, it's like, whoa, like that was just 10 days. We went that deep in just 10 days, that amount of growth, that transformation, that learning in just 10 days. And it's an incredible experience because you just tune out everything else. Tune out everything else. You're just there with yourself. You're there with yourself in the mind. And you start seeing all the stuff. You start seeing the shit. And that just starts popping up of, oh, wow, that's uncomfortable right there. Wow, I've had that inside of me this whole time. Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense now. And you have a lot of those sort of moments, but it's beautiful because it puts you in an altered state of consciousness where for the first time you're seeing that there's a whole new way of experiencing this thing that we like to call reality. So
That's cool. And I remember hearing somewhere that your brain doesn't really know the difference between a dream and reality. So when you meditate and you can get in that certain state, I forget if it's like theta state or I forget the waves or whatever, but when you can get into that state where you're kind of almost like dreaming while you're conscious, then your mind starts to confuse what's possible with like a new reality and you kind of unlock new powers. Did you ever watch that show on Nickelodeon, like Avatar: The Last Airbender? Did you watch it?
That show is really trying to teach us something.
Dude, it is.
It's really trying to teach us something.
In the US, I don't know about over there in Medellin, but they just recently, I don't know, maybe 6 months or a year ago, they released the whole show, like the first, I guess it was 3 seasons on Amazon. And my girlfriend and I watched them. She's kind of nerdy about that stuff. So I'm like, cool, I can actually watch Avatar with like a girl, like my dream girl right there. But we watched the entire thing, and that kind of makes me think of the Vipassana, because there's the stage where at the end he goes and sees this yogi guy, and he's trying to like unlock all the chakras or whatever. So he's trying to get into that really deep state of meditation where he could just go to that next level that he's never been before. And I still feel like I'm scratching the surface when I meditate. It's like I'm thinking of other things I have to do. I'm only doing it for 15 or 20 minutes at a time. And so that would be a great experience eventually to, once I know you did another Vipassana despite the COVID stuff, you're like, I'm just going to do it by myself.
Yeah.
So that's amazing, man. How did you know how long to do it? Did you set timers on your phone or whatnot when you were there?
The second time around was like a year and a half after the first time. And I've been planning it out for a while because I was like, wow, that 10 days, that just changed everything for me. Like, all right, I'm going to do it next year and I'm going to go even deeper. And all this COVID started happening and I had it all planned out, but it got canceled. I was like, oh man, like, oh well, like it got canceled. No big deal. I was out at this finca here when COVID started, this country home in Colombia, because I wanted to get out of the city. And the friend that I was staying with, like, it's this beautiful property where it's just like out in nature, just peaceful, just incredibly beautiful. This friend that I was staying with basically said like, hey, well, if you still want to do it, like, why don't you just do it here yourself? And I never really thought about it. And he's like, hey, I actually know one of the Vipassana teachers. I can put you in contact with him and you can talk to him and see if it's something that you want to do. So I hit up this teacher. And he just gave me the full rundown. He just gave me everything that I need to know. And he basically said, like, here's how to do it. You've already done it before. So if you want to do it again, now that you know the technique of it, go for it. So I was like, all right, let's do this. And so this time around was different because instead of doing it, there was like 15 people the first time that I did it. And even though you can't talk to anyone or can't look at anyone, you still like got that.
They're there.
Around of like, ooh, this is tough right now, but okay, we're in this together. And you got the teacher there that you can ask questions to, like specifically about the technique, like 15 minutes a day. But yeah, this summer round was different because it was just total isolation. I never experienced anything like that before, just total isolation. So that was just incredible because there's something that happens. There's something that happens when us as human beings, when we go into periods of isolation where we don't, I'm not sure if you felt like this, like maybe with like some entrepreneurship stuff, like some business stuff before in the past, where you kind of just go into your own little world, and for a while there's not a whole lot of outside influences because you're just focused on whatever you need to do. I'm not sure if you felt like that before, but there's something really interesting that happens with human beings when we tune out everything else and we just focus on what we need to do, focus on ourselves, focus on our own path, our own mission, our own purpose, and just be quiet and be still and just be like that. Something interesting happens. You can start really connecting with the deeper level parts of yourself. You really start figuring out what you're about, and you realize that you know these problems, these challenges, these obstacles that keep coming up. It's a lifelong journey, and the conflicts are not necessarily going to go away. But it's how am I reacting to these things? Am I reacting to them in the ways of just the typical anger, fear, like running away type of things, or am I looking at them and taking a step back and looking at them to, what is this trying to teach me? What is this really trying to teach me here? Because I know that you can't really shake me. You can't really shake me. You know that you don't have time with yourself. It's that crazy things start to happen. Really crazy things start to happen, and inspire me to want to do more of that stuff in the future for sure. Like even like rent out like an Airbnb for a weekend, like in the mountains or something, and just do your thing there. So
exactly. That's awesome, man. I'm reading this book called Influence right now. I don't know if you ever heard it, The Psychology of Persuasion. And there's a funny cartoon I just saw. I'm only on page 30, but there was some funny cartoon in here somewhere. Let me find it. Where it talks about, okay, you can't really see, but it's a guy like lecturing, it looks like, to an audience.
I can see it, yep.
And it says here, I want each of you on the way home tonight to stop, look up, ponder the heavens, and consider how insignificant our second quarter loss really is. So like, wow. So he's saying like, okay, if you, no matter how bad this looks, if you look up at the heavens and you realize how insignificant, like, I mean, we all have an impact on the world and we have a part to play, but in the grand scheme of things, we're like such a small speck in the timeline. That flat tire you got today, or, you sprained your ankle. Okay, stuff sucks, not everything's going to go well, but on the grand scheme of things, is it that bad? We got to be grateful for what we have. And there's so many more things to be grateful for than a lot of us realize, like I'm not living in a mansion right now, but I got a roof over my head. My name's on the title of the house. Like I own the house. That's pretty cool, right?
That's awesome.
I'm grateful for that, man. And same thing with you. You're living out in Medellin right now, dude. You're just having a cool experience. Right now you're locked down. But I mean, outside of that, no matter what's going on in our lives that's wrong, we all have things we can be grateful for. And it's been really cool watching your journey, Mike's journey. I mean, I follow Andrew as well, Skylar, all these people, Julian now. We're all kind of figuring out what is our path. And I wish there was a book sometimes that's like, Chris's life, like do this next. But at the same time, the beauty is that this is the book. It's a blank page. Like, what are you going to do? Right? I don't want to be told what to do. That's why we joined this journey, right? And it's cool. Like, dude, we hold the pen in the blank page. Like, what do you want to do?
What do you want?
What do you want? People don't even ask themselves that question, right?
I have this one mentor of mine who actually I was with Andrew. It was the three of us, this guy named Scott. Andrew's mentor when Andrew originally dropped out of school.
When he was in Australia or something?
Yeah, on the other side of the world to live with this entrepreneur for a year. He basically said like, hey, like, you've got everything that I want. Because he's like this young guy. He's like 26 or 27 or something like that. He's got like a 5-star luxury apartment, like on the beach. He's got all of the exotic sports cars. He's got all the girls. He's ripped. He's in shape. And he's just vibrant. He's just alive and full of energy. And so Andrew sees that. And he's like, no one in this whole school thing has what you have right here.
Something's wrong. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's how he dropped out of school, like on the opposite side of the world, and just stayed there.
That's awesome.
You're learning everything. So I was with him, Scott, the three of us. We were in Mexico like a year and a half, 2 years ago or something like that. And this guy was telling us, like, because we were all just like talking about like, you know, things that we're grateful for and like this journey and like, yeah, there's ups and downs. That's not because we were still learning and still just putting the piece together like we all still are. But Scott just looked at us and like, now that you guys have started seeing it, now that you guys know that you can do anything that you want, question then comes,
what do you want to do? Man, that's incredible. Do you have any tips from what you learned from Scott? Because I'm still fighting with this too, where, you know, part of us, we try to hold ourselves back and play a little small, but that little bit that we hold back causes us to not get the results we want. Have you figured out how to be like, no, I'm going all in? Like any little tip to get that edge on ourselves whenever we want to hold ourselves back? Because I'm still trying to figure that out for me.
I'll just tell you from my experience. A lot of it's fear. A lot of it's fear because I'm still there, man. I'm still right there in it and like doing stuff like this, like putting my face out there, putting my message out there, sharing my stories.
Right.
Like, oh, that's like it's not natural. It's not natural for me to be doing this. Like, I was just this shy little kid, no confidence, no anything at all. And so I was just, there's still that part of me. There's still that fear of like, oh man, like what are other people going to think? Like how are other people going to judge me and all this sort of stuff. It's like not consciously, but deep down, like if you're not really on your path, if you're not really giving it all you got, there's something holding you back. There's something holding you back. And that something is, there's two things. There's two things that we can feel on the opposite sides of the spectrum. Love and fear. Two opposite sides. And so if you're not in that place of love where you're just in gratitude for everything that you have, like what's holding you back? What are you scared of? Like what's in there? And so that's been a lot of the work for me, is like really diving into those parts of myself, those parts of like the people pleasing. Like, am I holding myself back? Am I not speaking up in certain places, in certain ways, because I want to just make everyone happy all the time and I want to please everyone? And even though this opinion might not be very popular, like,
right,
I hold back because I don't think I should be saying this or something. So it's like a lot of that. It's that inner work. It's the inner game of it all.
I think that's the whole thing of life, man. We got to
nothing out there that's holding you back. There's nothing externally that can ever hold you back. Certain things come up. Certain things definitely come up, and they can really present themselves in a strong way sometimes. But at the end of the day, there's nothing outside that can determine just, it's you versus you, man.
That's true, man. I recently reread, I think I read this book in middle school or high school, A Man's Search for Meaning, where it talks like Viktor Frankl. I'm sure you've read that one, right?
Great one, yeah. That's a really good one.
And this guy just survived concentration camp for years and being tortured and like barely eating and surviving, putting a little piece of bread in his pocket for later, his whole family like getting killed off and stuff like that. I mean, I don't want to spoiler alert, I should have said, but spoiler alert, it's not very good, the things that happened to him. But ultimately what the book is called, I mean, it gives it away in the title, is like he's searching for meaning. And the meaning is like I can't remember the punchline, but basically like when you love others and you have people that you care for and you're coming from that place of gratitude, you always find the reason to survive. And those who lost that meaning, who gave up and just refused to keep fighting to get to their loved ones and stuff, they're the ones who got killed and died first because they had no more meaning, you know? They gave it all up.
You said that it was easy to tell when people were about to die, like a few days before. He could pick them out based on how they were acting, how they were feeling, the energy putting out. Yeah.
And I mean, knock on wood, I hope we're never in a situation like that. Because I mean, I think of like, what if we went and traveled and became like a prisoner of war somewhere, like and got tortured every day for 20 years? Like that would be terrible. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And it's terrible that even never happens. And that's a thing. But most of us, it's like, okay, we don't have that kind of setback. We got a flat tire. We get fired from a job. Like these are things it's not life ending or threatening things most of the time, right? So when you think about it like that, you're like, man, these things that I used to think were such big problems are like a little mosquito. Just kill the mosquito and move on, you know? Solve those bigger problems.
That's it.
Awesome, man. Well, I don't know how you're looking on time. I got a couple more minutes if you want to drop any more gems, or we can start to tie this up. You're like, what else am I going to do? I'm stuck in this, I'm stuck in this room anyway.
No. Yeah, it's just really, that's one of the things that's biggest for me is the stuff that you're just talking about right there. Is just, man, like whatever it is that's in front of you, no matter how bad it might seem or how bad it might get, like it can be painful. It can really, really, really hurt, but just gotta keep going. You just gotta find that place of inner strength when there's sometimes no inner strength at all, and just you gotta know, like, and like I go through my low moments still plenty, and it's like now when if I'm in those low places, like it's just I even have gratitude for even that. So I'm like, wow,
what is this teaching?
This is incredible. Like I'm feeling this right now. I am truly, deeply feeling this emotion that I am feeling, and I am understanding it. I'm looking back and I'm trying to, where is my error in thinking? Where is my error in thinking that has caused me to feel this way? There's some sort of pain that I have not looked at yet? Where is there some sort of unhealed part of myself that I have not discovered, that I have not explored just yet? Where is there some sort of inner child that is just crying for help, crying out for love right now? Where is that I haven't really found just yet? And it's just like that sort of gratitude that, you know, because that's life. It's not always going to be high highs. You're going to have the lows too, and you're going to have everything else in between. And it's that there's nothing constant. There's nothing constant ever in life. Everything is always change.
Right.
Change. And so when you're up there, enjoy it. When you're down here, enjoy it. And then that's way easier said than done. And that's something that I'm discovering for myself. It's really go deeper into those places and really appreciate them and love them for what they're trying to teach me. But yeah, just got to keep going, man.
And we definitely need those contrasts. I've heard it said before, you know, if we didn't know what sadness was, we wouldn't know what happiness was. If we didn't have darkness, we wouldn't know what the light was. And it's kind of like with anything else. Maybe you really want that car, you get it, and after 3 months, you're like, okay, it's just a car, you know? So it's always about comparison with yourself, I guess, where are you in comparison to where you were? Maybe you're not as far. If you compare yourself to someone who's got all the cars, like the guy you said, Scott, right? When you saw with all the cars and the penthouse on the beach, maybe if I looked at that, I might be a little jealous. Like, I don't have that right now. But if I look at where I was, like that 5-year ago picture I showed you on Facebook where I was in a cubicle and I was expected to work crazy hours for no extra pay. I mean, I've come a long way. People are jealous of what I do. I constantly get people replying to my story saying like, I wish I could do what you do, or like, man, like you look like you're doing really well. You're like really at a cool spot. I'm jealous. And they're still at those places because I never asked those questions and they never took that uncomfortable leap to, have that hand shaking as you turn in the 2-week notice. Like that's a big first step, man. And that just started a whole different, our path was supposed to go this way and we just like branched off completely.
On. Just
either, right?
beelined out of there.
As fast as we could, man. As fast as we could. That's awesome though, because I mean I love to see that you're just living your purpose and finding out what that is too. So what would you say for our audience? What would be one key takeaway that you want people to do today or to think about or just to, simmer, like let it simmer in their mind? What's one thing that you think they should think about or pay some attention to?
Trust in yourself, trust in your path, trust in what you're doing. If you feel a certain way about something, if you have a certain gut thing and a certain intuition thing, and you know what it is that you're supposed to be doing right now, but there's all these pressures outside of like, no, you shouldn't do that. You should do this thing that everyone else is doing. Trust in how you feel about that. Trust in what you know to be true for yourself, what you know to be true for yourself, because at the end of the day, that's what really matters. Because as long as you trust in and believe in that thing, as long as you trust and believe in yourself, other people will eventually start catching up.
I love that. And the thing with trust too is you have to see it before anyone else does, right? I heard someone talk about Disney, man. He looked at that part. He saw Disney World before he even bought the land, and everyone's like, what is he going to do with this? And just what it's turned into, right? Like, of course, right now, things are still kind of crazy. Like, COVID has thrown a wrench in the whole world, like the whole economy, with things being social distancing and kind of closed. But, like, COVID aside, when Disney World is popping, like, if you've ever been there, man, Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and all those things, but you have to see it before others will see it. And that's part of the whole process, is learning to trust ourselves, right? And just that's the hardest part. It's like, can I trust this little voice inside that tells me to do this thing that I'm not sure about, right?
Not the one that's telling you why you can't do it.
Right.
That's not you. That's all the programming. That's all what everyone's told you from life about who you are. That's not it. It's the silent one. It's the silent one deep, deep, deep down there. That's the one.
That's beautiful, dude. Well, dude, Brett, I appreciate your time on here, man. It's just very eye-opening conversation. It's great to just catch up in general, right? And I just love that. Like, let's go. You're really yelling that at the top of your lungs with is he your roommate, Alan?
Yeah, our neighbors don't really like it too much when we're celebrating life at 7 a.m. Just flash music, just saying like, thank you.
The blood going, yeah.
Yeah, they don't like it that much, but we bought them hot chocolates one time where they could go. There was like an office below us of like 15 people, and we bought them all hot chocolates one day. Like, oh, sorry. I
have experience with that because I still am a drummer to some extent. I don't play much. I had downstairs roommates in my apartment, and my electronic drums, every time I hit the pedals, it would be like they could hear the pedals on their roof. Good times, man. Well, where can our audience go to learn more about you, connect with you? Do you have a website or anything right now, or is Instagram the best spot?
Instagram's the best spot.
Instagram. Sure. And your handle, I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, just put it in the show notes because it's a little tricky.
Don't know how to spell it.
Brett Gonzenbach.
Brett Gonzenbach. Awesome, man. Well, Brett, thank you once again. Great catching up. And, we just had a great conversation here that we would have had anyway. And I'm happy that we get to share this with the world and hopefully inspire someone out there to follow their dreams.
Yeah, great catching up with you, man. This is fun.
Likewise, man. Awesome.